It is that time again, Booster Club. Today, we are going to build our preseason college football top 25 live on the show, just mere minutes away. But first, I do want to make a couple things clear about what this ranking means. These are the top 25 teams we believe that are the best prepared heading into the 2024 season. This is not a prediction on where they're going to end up, all right? Not where they're going to finish, only where they start. We're going to have our individual predictions by team and conference, which we're going to be rolling out in the next couple weeks. But today we thought it would be fun to put our collective minds together, and I'm sure nobody's going to overreact when this top 25 drops hot off the press. Speaking about getting off press, nobody loved a guy getting off press more than former Michigan quarterback David Cone, especially in that offense. Then my brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver, hated press, but he got off of it more times than he didn't. I will give you credit over there. You're pretty good against press coverage. All right, David. So I set up the parameters. This is our preseason top 25. How we think the teams are going to fare going into the season. This is not where we think they're going to wind up. I just want to once again make that crystal clear.
Okay, so based off the rosters that they have returning, how they did in the transfer portal, plus the coaching staffs that they've assembled, and maybe a little bit of trust factor.
All that together.
Factored in.
All that put into a soup. And this isn't one of those lists that, oh, God, we put Colorado at 3 just to piss everybody off. We don't do that here. Look, we have opinions that may be a reach for some people, I guess, sometimes, but they truly are our opinions. We're not out there just looking for rage bait, even though it is fun.
And I've tried to take schedule into account as little as possible.
Definitely. Blaine, how are you feeling about this?
I feel great. It's a work day today. It's a business day.
It's a business
There's
day.
a lot of things we got to get figured out, and I don't know a better place to get them figured out than Crain Company.
Well, first off, I love your energy right now. I'm all over it.
that you-
So let's start. All right, and we want to know in the chat, remember, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We're going to get to the chat. We want to know what you guys think. We're going to throw some questions at you, and producer Justine is back there, just Bob the Builder, going to build this thing as we go. So our number one ranked preseason top 25 team, and we have to be at least 2/3 in agreement for it to go on the board.
Okay.
All right, we're going to start, obviously, with number one. That's the best way to do it. I'm going Georgia.
Not reigning champs?
Not reigning champs, David. I'm sorry.
That's one way
I'm going
to do
Georgia.
things.
I'm going
Look, man, you got to put Georgia up there. I think Georgia and the Buckeyes have the two just clear-cut best rosters in the country, and to me, Carson Beck is the deciding factor at quarterback.
I mean, what box does Georgia not check?
I agree with that.
Their defensive line's weak.
Yeah.
I mean, they're better than every other one in the country,
they're
but
weak when
they're
you
not
compare
as
them
good
to
as
the
the ones
Justice.
playing for the Eagles.
Well, people look at Georgia's schedule, and I get it. Look, I think Georgia's going to be an offensive-driven team this year. I actually think the offense is going to be better than the defense. But that doesn't mean the defense is going to be bad. That just means I think the offense is going to be that good, even with Ra Thomas being dismissed. Now, and I'm going to tell you right now, personally, at least up to this point, I don't have anybody going undefeated in the regular season. But when I look at Georgia, if anybody can survive those tests, they can survive those landmines, the attrition and all that, excuse me, I think it is Georgia. Now, the question becomes, because in my tier one, I've got Georgia, Ohio State, and Oregon. Those are three teams, I think, from a roster standpoint, are decently better than everybody else. And then we get in that next tier. But the question is, who is number two? David, are you going to Ohio State or are you going Oregon?
One more point on Georgia, because I think you brought up an interesting point, and it's best to just get it out of the way early here. Look, Georgia and Missouri could end up with the same regular season in-conference record. When you start to actually talk about, here's the schedules that these teams have to play. Like you talked about Georgia's schedule, the 3 toughest games they're going to play are all on the road, and they're still going to have to play teams like Tennessee and Auburn at home. That's where this factors in. But I think if you're just talking about rosters and coaching staffs and trust factor and all that kind of stuff, that's where Georgia's clear cut. I'm going to go with the Buckeyes at 2 because when the head coach asks for $13 million in order to keep his roster together and they give you $20 million, it's go time. There's no more excuses to me. It's time for Ryan Day to not only win the conference, but to go play in the national championship. I think they've earned the number 2 spot, even though I think there are other teams that are worthy if you guys vote that way.
Yeah, Blaine, what about you?
I'm going Oregon Ducks.
Yeah.
Because one big factor to me is Dylan Gabriel's proven.
True.
He's proven in big moments. We still have to see more out of Will. I think Ohio State's roster is phenomenal. The reason I do give Oregon the nod is DG, and that's Dylan Gabriel. I think Oregon's a combination of speed and physical, and that's going to fit perfect into the Big Ten, so I got Oregon at 2.
I'm going to go with Oregon as well. I went back and forth on this one, and David, I don't think you're wrong. I think, there's very logical and rational explanations for why Ohio State could be 2 and even number 1. That's what makes this top 3 interesting. Now, I do think Ohio State, when you take their whole roster And if you were to put it on one of those scales they do, like what the Lady Justice scales, like, where you even it up, I do feel like Ohio State's roster would be a little bit better than Oregon's overall. But I'm with Blaine. I think Dylan Gabriel's the difference if he can stay healthy, but if any quarterback can stay healthy. And I'm not saying I think Will Howard is a bad player. I've just got to see if Will Howard can make those 3 to 5, those 5 to 7 throws in a game where the rosters are somewhat even though there's not going to be a lot of that for Ohio State. I trust Dylan Gabriel just because of what I've seen more than Will Howard. If Will Howard is able to do that and Will Howard is able to figure that out, I think there's probably a pretty good chance Ohio State not only is better than Oregon, but may win the Natty.
I don't think either of these guys have to be a hero for them to win the Natty, especially not Will.
Not in the regular season. Well, one, they're going to play each other.
For sure.
So someone's going to have to.
I think DG falls into that. If one of them does end up having to be, I would trust DG a lot more.
And I think most people would do that outside of just bias if it's your team or not. And remember, Ohio State does go play Oregon on the road during the regular season. So I've got Oregon 2, Justine. So that's a 2/3 agreement. We got Georgia 1. We've got Oregon 2. We've got Ohio State 3. Now here, boys, when we move on from here, and I kind of want to see real quick, Blaine, what the chat has to say about this.
Let's go to Always Talking Ball. Love that. He said, Oregon is the only team that comes to mind that doesn't have a single weakness on their team. They may not be better than UGA or Ohio State, but I don't think they have a glaring weakness.
I actually agree with that 100%. I don't see Oregon as being deficient really in any place when you compare them to everybody else. But if you're going to put them at the top, I do think Dylan Gabriel does bounce that scale up. But when I look at Ohio State's defensive line, with what they're returning really on defense in general, then I look at that offensive line and adding Seth McLaughlin from Alabama, if he can make a good snap at center. I know that's kind of a big deal, but I don't think that's a crazy thing.
Let's go to C. Jenkins 313. Preseason polls are fun, and we all love them, but do they really mean anything? No, but it makes it even more entertaining at the beginning of the season. Do any of these fellows have Auburn in their top 25?
You're gonna have to wait for the individual predictions. Look, preseason polls. It's funny. I think that's our poll today. Are they worthless? In reality, outside, I always used to say no because in 2004, when Auburn went undefeated, they started out ranked like 15th, and neither Oklahoma or USC lost, so they weren't able to jump them back in the BCS. It's obviously not the way we do it now. But yes. You should really probably wait until week 4 for the first true poll to come out. We really kind of do that with the way the playoff rankings had come out during the year, like into the year a little bit further. But I mean, this is just for having fun and us being able to come together collectively and decide on the top 25. And individually, our top 25s are different.
Yeah, when I'm trying to strategically think about how the seasons are going to shake out, which teams are better than which teams, which rosters, who's returning what, that's fun and that's healthy. So to me, that's not meaningless.
All right, one more.
Let's go to Trent CN. I'm going to call you Trenchon, dude. That sounds better. The steam Dylan Gabriel is getting this preseason is crazy. He's good for sure, but he's been getting elite praise.
Well, I think when you look at all the quarterbacks that left college football last year, this class, I wouldn't qualify them nearly as what it was last year, but there's still some elite players. And I think when you have to categorize some of these guys, especially the ones that have moved, I don't think you're crazy to put Dylan Gabriel, right at the top of your list with Cam Ward and a couple other guys. You got to understand, too, Dylan Gabriel fits what Will Stein, the offensive coordinator at Oregon, wants to do to a T. One of the knocks on Bo Nix was, his completion percentage and all this was so good because they were throwing quick passes out there, the quick game, the short game, the now screens, the bubble screens, the hitches, all that. That plays right into what Dylan Gabriel wants to do, and Dylan Gabriel's running element is kind of similar to what Bo Nix's running element is. So I think it's another great fit, but Dylan Gabriel's proven. I mean, he can play at a really, really high level, and when you compare him with the rest of the quarterbacks, I don't think it's crazy at all to have him.
I don't think Oklahoma beats Texas in the Red River Shootout last year.
I don't think they do either. All right, so we got Georgia 1, Oregon 2, Ohio State 3. Here's where it gets fishy, boys, right? Looking at 4. I mean, the candidates to put it forward to me are Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, and I'm going to say Utah. I don't think Utah is getting enough love in any of these rankings.
That's so funny because you just named the exact order of my 4, 5, 6, and 7 all in a row.
Really? So
I got Texas at 4, and I think they've earned that right. I think Steve Sarkisian was the right guy for this program. What a great hire. And making the college football playoff last year, I think he's set Texas up for a great first year in the SEC. Again, they have to go to Michigan week 2. That's going to be like that fly in the ointment non-conference game. But how well do they reload, especially at the defensive line positions and wide receiver? Can Quinn Ewers stay healthy the entire season? Those are some questions I have. I think Texas is going to be really good again.
I'm going to shock you with who I have at 4. Who do you think, Blaine?
Well, I have Texas at number 4 for me. And the biggest question when it comes to Texas coming in on their teams are secondary. how long can you hold up when it comes to SEC? I think Texas is going to be pretty damn good up front on both sides of the ball. I never worry about quarterback or receiver play when it comes to Steve Sarkisian. They'll be top tier no matter what. But it's a physicality thing with Texas. How can you be the most physical team when you come to the SEC? You might not be, but damn it, you need to try. And if Texas can do that, you already got a Lambeau. But if you can get the Lambeau to drive off-road, you're going to have a lot of wins.
I like that analogy. I guess so. Y'all are both with Texas at 4.
Correct.
So it will be Texas, Justine, back there at 4. But I've got Ole Miss at 4. And the reason I have Ole Miss at 4 is because, and I've continued to say this, I think this is the most complete Ole Miss team. This is the most ready-built team that they've had in a long time. This is a team that I think is a nice blend of high school development and the transfer portal. I don't think Lane Kiffin's gone too far off the end or too close to the end of the spectrum when it comes to the transfer portal. But I look at this offense, going to be really good up front, elite at the quarterback position. Yes, you lost Judkins, but you're going to be fine at running back. Your receivers are top 3 in the SEC, top 4 probably. Then you look on the defense. Oh, don't forget, Ole Miss last year was top 3 in the league in backfield disruption rate, which to me is one of the most important stats there is. They were tops in the league, I believe, in turnover margin. You should be better in the front 7 than you were last year, and probably even a little bit better in the back end. I look at that with their schedule. You know, they do get Georgia, but they get them at home. I mean, we'll know more about Texas, and I do agree with you. The physicality level's been raised. That's why their success has been raised. If Ole Miss played Texas on a neutral site, I'm probably rolling with Ole Miss, boys.
Yeah.
I really am.
Now, how fun would that be? Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin,
It's a wizard
2 former
fight.
Alabama offensive coordinators,
It's a
dialing up
wizard
against
fight.
each other. I agree with everything you're saying. And beyond just the roster that Lane Kiffin's been able to assemble, what I was most impressed with last season was his focus down the stretch.
Yeah.
Right, 11 wins last year. 2 double-digit win seasons in the past 3 years. I have Ole Miss at 6 right now, but I have no problem with anywhere from 4 to 6, 4 to 7.
All right, so we got Texas at 4. Do we want to go Ole Miss at 5? Do you want to go Alabama at 5? Do you want to go Utah at 5?
I have Alabama at 5.
I have Alabama at 5.
Okay, so where do you have Ole Miss?
I have Ole Miss at 6.
Okay.
6?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I want to go Ole Miss 5.
And again, here's one thing that I think is happening with some people across the country is because Nick Saban has retired and new coach Kalen DeBoer comes in at Alabama, sometimes people forget just how deep Alabama is at so many different positions and how well they've recruited, even though some players have transferred out. And for Ole Miss, it's kind of a newer thing. So there's a lot of excitement to finally see Ole Miss worthy of like a top 7, 8 ranking in the country.
And again, I don't think there's really a wrong answer here when you're comparing both these teams. I had Alabama, one slot further than you guys. But you know what I do find fascinating, and I'm continue to say this about Alabama, is I think Kalen DeBoer's tenure and the reaction early is going to be defined by the first time something inevitably goes wrong, which it pretty much always does during a college football season, even with Nick Saban. When I look at the way this team is built right now, I do expect the offensive line to be better. I think Jalen Milroe is a guy that's going to be a Heisman finalist most likely. He can create. He can go by the book, inside the pocket, outside the pocket. I really want to see his progression as a thrower. But Alabama's got really good players. I mean, anybody that thinks Alabama was just going to fall off this massive cliff with Kalen DeBoer, they're not going to be good anymore. I'm really high on Utah. I had Bama 6, and I had Utah 5. And Ole Miss 4, and then Texas 7. But I mean, I'm down with whatever. I'm good with either one of those. If y'all want to go Alabama at 5, we can go Alabama at 5.
Yeah, if we're doing the 2/3, right, might as well go Alabama at 5. I have Ole Miss at 6. Who do y'all have at 7?
This is my first pick that I deviate from the coach's poll. Now, you guys put Oregon above the Buckeyes, so ours will be a little bit different already. But this is where I have Utah. I have Utah up at 7, and I just think Kyle Whittingham is one of the best coaches in the country. This could be his last season. They already have a coach in waiting. The question for me is, what type of player is Cam Rising going to be coming back from the injuries? I mean, if he's the conference player of the year, hey, showing out in the Rose Bowl like he used to be before, then I think Utah is going to win the conference, not only make the college football playoff, but get a first-round bye. If he's not quite as good as he used to be, but still really good, I think they could still win the conference. I mean, Kansas State and Oklahoma State will be right there with them.
And they shouldn't catch a knock for being in the Big 12.
No, I feel like Utah is the most disrespected, respected team of all time. Like everybody, a lot of people, like Vegas has them winning the Big 12. A lot of people have them making the playoff, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about them being able to advance pretty far in the playoff, even if they get that bye and don't have to play in that first game. I think Utah's good enough to win a national championship if Cam Rising stays healthy and they catch some breaks. That's why I had Ole Miss 4. I had I had Ole Miss 4. I had Utah 5. I had I had Alabama 6 and Texas 7. But I'm fine with Utah here. If David, I know
You have Texas at 7?
I had Texas at 7.
Oh, you have Texas all the way back at 7.
Yep. Because I had Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Ole Miss. Then I went, Alabama, Utah, then Texas. So, if we're looking at 6 here, I guess going to go.
Woo! Y'all believe in Utah.
I believe him. I think they may go.
Damn.
And I'll tell you what else. I think they're one of the best bets right now on the board to make the college football playoff at plus 240. Again, it comes down to odds. When you talk about Penn State right now is minus 145. Penn State can make the college football playoff for sure. But minus 145 on the odds, I don't think you're getting great value. Alabama's plus 100. Utah's plus 240. Those are two great college football playoff bets.
Okay. So to make sure I'm right up to this point, we've got Georgia 1, Oregon 2, Ohio State 3. We've got Texas 4. We've got Alabama 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Ole Miss 6.
Yeah.
All right. So this is, again, where we kind of take another step. I'd have Utah 7 then.
Who'd you have at 7?
I have the Michigan Wolverines
Gotcha.
at 7.
How far back do you have Utah?
I have Utah at 9.
Yeah, okay. So you
it's
all
a
in
top
the top
10.
10.
Yeah. So we'll go Utah here
I like
at
Utah
7.
there.
We'll go Utah here at 7. So, Justine, you good with that back there? All right. So 8, 9, 10. When it comes to Michigan, you look at some of these teams that are on the periphery we're not going to get to. I think Miami could be sniffing the top 10 at the end of the day. It's just
I have them in the top 10.
We got to kind of see it with Mario. But I'm going to say here at number 8, man, it's hard for me not to go Penn State, even with
You got
Drew
Penn
Allen,
State,
because
okay.
they're so talented around them. It's just, you look at some of these other teams, there's still question marks, right? You look at Florida State with DJU, there's some questions marked there. LSU's got a new guy. Kincaid Klubnik do it at Clemson. Tennessee's got a new guy. Oklahoma's got a new guy. Kansas State's got a new guy.
I'd take a lot of those new guys over what Penn State has.
But I'd take a lot of what Penn State has.
You guys may be upset with me. This is where I have Notre Dame. You have
Notre Dame at 8?
I have Notre Dame at 8.
Okay.
And again, I was trying to decide between Notre Dame and Michigan. I have Michigan at 9. But to me, that's just how much I believe in Riley Leonard. Like if you put Riley Leonard on Michigan, all of a sudden I'm moving them up inside the top 6.
Oh, without a doubt.
I just think he's that capable of a quarterback. Can he stay healthy? Plus that schedule, that's no walk in the park. You're going to open up against Texas A&M. But again, I tried to factor schedule into this as little as possible. I know about their left tackle. Just got hurt in training camp for Notre Dame.
We don't know about Riley either.
Do what?
We don't know about Riley either.
Well, Riley's got to stay healthy.
Coming off an
that's
injury.
true.
True.
And the offensive line worries me a little bit. I know they're pretty good in the guards with Coogan, and then the kid they got at center is pretty athletic as well. Speaking of Notre Dame, I just don't think they're a top 10 team. So you had Michigan there.
Or Michigan at 7. I have LSU at 8.
Yeah. All right. So we have Utah at 7. So at 8, Blaine, you said you have. Say it one more time.
I have LSU.
LSU at 8.
Yeah, I think LSU.
And you got Notre Dame at 8.
I thought you had Michigan at 8.
I have Michigan at 7.
Okay.
I have Michigan at 7, but we didn't go with Michigan at 7. We went with y'all 7, correct?
Utah.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. I've got no problem with putting Michigan at 8.
I have them at 9, so that would be my next vote that we haven't gotten to. And again, it sounds like Alex Orji's getting the majority of the starting quarterback reps there. They're going to go as he goes, or whoever plays quarterback. They're going to go.
You want to talk about a jersey that's going to sell a lot of them? That Orji jerseys. It's going to be a lot of people involved. But
again, you'll bring back really one of the best corners in the country, and Will Johnson.
Look, Michigan's going to be really good. The question
Loveland at tight end, Donovan Edwards at running back.
Can you get enough explosive plays on offense without having the guys you had last year with the way that you operate? That's the question.
Offensive line will be mostly brand new. It's going to be one of the biggest offensive lines in the country. And you know what I was told when I was in Ann Arbor is there'll be a lot of new starters, but they're not new guys. They're not young guys, right? They were just sitting behind all the guys who just went to the NFL. Well, that's the definition of reloading. You really want to go toe-to-toe with the Georgias and the Alabamas and these programs who are good every year, then you got to reload, especially on the offensive line. It sounds like that's what Michigan's done.
All right, so we're going to go Michigan at 8. 2/3 of us are going to say we're going to go Michigan at 8, which leaves us not having Notre Dame ranked yet, Penn State, Florida State. So to 9 with who we have left. Guys, I don't think it's crazy to put Miami at 9.
I have Miami at 10. So I'm right there with you. And again, like I said yesterday, it is time. You've never won the ACC. It's year 3 Mario Cristobal. You got one of the top quarterbacks out of the transfer portal in Cam Ward. It's time.
It is time. Blaine?
I mean, I have Miami at 17.
You have Miami at 7.
The coaches poll had them at 19, I think.
I just didn't expect. I thought you'd have them higher.
No, not really. I have to see more. I know you're good up front. You have Cam Ward, a good bag. Defensively, I don't know. Secondary, you're terrible. You're young. Well, I mean, we'll see how good you are. You have Restrepo, but they have to prove it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have to show. What has Miami proven to anybody?
I get it.
The biggest moment, what have they done? Choke. I know the roster's better, but I still think, we're on 9 right now, Craig. I'd put LSU there.
Well, like, what do you know about LSU?
I got LSU at 16.
I think LSU, as good as they were offensively, they were that bad defensively. I think they're going to take a step up defensively this year, and I don't think that drop-off is going to be huge offensively. I think you got one of the best tackles in the nation, and Will, who's an absolute dog. The Nuss Bus is going to be absolutely cooking. And the absolute athletes you have running around at receiver will be absolute dogs. You play mediocre defense. They won 10 games last year. It was one of the worst defenses in the nation.
I don't think that defense.
Mediocre defense. LSU will be in the playoff.
I really want to agree with you that the offense is going to be even better than what people are thinking about, but not what they were last year. I just don't see a way in which they can replicate the way Nuss plays, losing Mike Denbrock to Notre Dame, losing Malik Neighbors, losing Brian Thomas. Really good on the offensive line. I think they're going to play it safe, to be honest with you. I just don't see the production level being near what it was on offense, but it doesn't have to. To your point, they have to be more balanced as a team, speaking about LSU. So if the defense can go from absolute hot dog water to just being mediocre or even good, like you're saying, and the offense is still pretty good, I think LSU's a better team. And I think you could see him in the top 10. But I don't know if I'm going to sit here and say, well, Miami's got to prove this to me, but LSU doesn't have to prove it to me with brand new players, a brand new defensive coordinator, and a defense that couldn't stop a nosebleed in a nurse's office. I just don't think I'm not sitting here like, well, they've proven a lot to me. They lost all the guys that proved it to me last year. Miami's good on the offensive line. LSU's good on the offensive line. LSU's probably better. Miami's got a better quarterback in Cam Ward. I don't think that's crazy. We've got to see the new young guys. I know Daniels, there's a lot of guys people are excited about for LSU at wide receiver. They've got a hell of a track record. I'm going to believe you, but I've watched Restrepo do his thing for a while. I know Damian Martinez is a damn dog at running back behind that offensive line. So I don't think what you're saying is crazy. I think the reason you're saying it is crazy.
So who do you nominate? You're nominating Miami?
I'm going to say I think it's Miami at 9.
At 9. Okay, well, I'll second that, just to solidify the vote.
Okay, so then we'll go. So then that's no Notre Dame, no Penn State. I know the Florida State fans are already pissed. I can feel that now that we have Miami. Blaine, who do you have at number 10? Who do you think we should have?
I have Notre Dame at number 10.
You've got Notre Dame at number 10. God, y'all are high on Notre Dame, huh? I'm just not that high on them,
there's
dog.
only so many spots. I mean, like, I think Notre Dame's, like, I trust what they have right now more than Tennessee, more than LSU, more than Clemson.
What about Missouri?
I have Missouri at 11.
Man, I'll ride with you guys for Notre Dame at 10. I'll ride with you Notre Dame at 10 because if you got them at 10 and you had them at what, 9? You said
I had them at 8.
Had them at 8. All right, let's put Notre Dame at 10.
Okay.
All right, so you got the top 10, Justine, in there, right? So we should have the top 10 in there. Going to get back to it in a second. I'm going to get to the chat. The phone lines are going to open here. Let me do the math at 3:15 p.m. Central. That's me doing time in my head. I know you guys are impressed. All right, Justine, you good on the top 10 right there?
Get it now.
All right, do it now. If we're going to get to the rest of it in a second, I do want to get to the chat.
All right, let's go to Mr. Michael T. Mr. Michael T, what is up? He says, I'm high on Notre Dame as well. Riley's proven it in the last couple of years, especially with the athletes at Duke. Given Notre Dame's skill position, the ceiling is unlimited.
I'm all on the Riley Leonard train, but I don't think we sit here and say Riley's proved it a ton over time because he wasn't able to make it through the year last year. Now, when he's on the field, Riley Leonard does really good things. Hell, you give him a basketball, he can do really good things too. And I do agree with you. I said this yesterday. Notre Dame, I'm in the exact opposite position about Notre Dame this year than I was last year. Pretty much exactly the opposite outside of believing in their quarterback because I do believe in Riley. Last year, I was worried about Notre Dame's skill position guys not being good enough to help them win games in multiple ways. I knew they were going to be good on the offensive line. I knew the defense was going to be pretty good. Well, this year, after losing Joe Alt and losing Blake Fisher, both your tackles, now losing your soon-to-be starter, young stud Charles Jaguza at left tackle, I think Notre Dame's fine at the skill positions around them. I love Jeremiah Love, pun intended. I like Faison. Hell, he can go play lacrosse and do it too. I like the pieces that they have, Greathouse and some of the guys, Mitchell Evans at tight end if he can stay healthy. I just don't believe in Notre Dame up front, and I think that's going to get exposed against Texas A&M.
The good news is we are going to find out early at Texas A&M. And look, Texas A&M, they're favored right now, right? I mean, it's a pick 'em essentially. But
Texas A&M is going. Mike Elko is going to try and turn this into just an absolute bar fight.
It'll be a dogfight.
Behind in the alley, slow,
as it should be,
ugly, Gorlock the Destroyer type vibes in that game.
But here's the thing: even if Notre Dame loses that game, which they could. You get Louisville at home. You get Florida State at home. They do have to go on the road at USC.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the de facto conference championship game for them. Even if you drop another one of those three, that's 10-2. That doesn't automatically disqualify Notre Dame.
I think it's going to be hard for Notre Dame to get in at 10-2.
It'll be hard, but it won't be impossible.
It won't be impossible. You're going to have to start relying on other people. But all right, I want to get back to the top 25, then we'll get back to the chat. All right, let's get to number 11 here, David. What are you thinking here?
I have Missouri. With Eli Drinkowitz coming off 11-win season. Brady Cook returning at quarterback. Luther Burden's going to be one of the best wide receivers in the country. And I know I said I wouldn't factor schedule into my rankings, but I do think we have to talk about the fact that Missouri could start 6-0 when you really,
And
Murray
people
State,
still
Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt, they get their first bye week. Well, at least 4-0. The game at Texas A&M and College Station is going to be really interesting, but Missouri's going to have that coming off of a bye week.
I'm with you. I'm going to go with Missouri at 10, and I know we're going to get to Florida State. I flirted with at 11, Missouri at 11. I flirted with Florida State, Penn State a little bit, but I'm going to go Missouri at 11. Defense, a little questionable. I got to see it again. You did lose your DC to LSU, but God, Brady Cook, that offensive line, Luther Burden, they still got some pieces I really like on the outside.
Number 11, I have Penn State.
Okay.
This is where I have Penn State at. Outside of the top 10, defensively, they're going to be phenomenal, both safeties. You bring back both your running backs. You did lose your left tackle. I just don't believe in Drew Aller that much, so that's why I have Penn State out of the top 10.
I'm with you. I got Penn State actually at 12 as well here, David. That's an easy agree. Drew Aller's got to prove it, but they're so good around him. I don't think they brought in the new OC. It's going to be different. They brought in the guy from Kansas. I'm excited to see it. He does a really good job out formation you, out motion you, puts you in a bad situation as a defensive guy, and you have to take chances against them.
So you guys both have Penn State at 12?
Yep.
All right, so lock in Penn State at 12. I'll tell you, this is where I went Kansas State at 12.
I don't think that's
I think this kid Avery Johnson's going to be an
it's funny
absolute
you
star.
say that because I've got Kansas State at 13.
Okay, so nobody thinks I'm too high on Kansas State at 12.
Well, what is it about why do people like Florida State better than Kansas State?
That's one of the questions that I've been having, and this is why I picked Florida State to be a slightly overranked in that number 10 spot in the coaches poll. And keep in mind, Kansas State will not play Utah in the regular season.
Just Oklahoma
now, Kansas State does have to play Oklahoma State, but they host them.
Yeah. Avery Johnson, I've got to see him throw more. That's a sample size thing. But I think he has more upside than what DJU has at Florida State. That's why I got Kansas State right there at 13. I love the style of ball they play. They should be good on defense again. And with Avery Johnson, they're going to stay that downhill kind of RPO quarterback run team with the play action stuff built off of it. I just think they're a complete team that plays smart football. And they're in the Big 12. I like Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas State knows who they are, right? It's almost Kansas State, Utah, Spider-Man GIF. That's basically what it is. Utah just a little bit better at what they do. So let's go through what we have so far so no one gets lost.
Yep.
Number 1, we have Georgia, correct?
Yes.
2, Oregon.
Yes.
3, Ohio State.
Yes.
4, Texas.
Yes.
5, Alabama.
Yes.
6, Ole Miss.
Yes.
7, Utah.
Yes.
All right. 8, Michigan.
Yes.
9,
Miami.
We ended up Miami there,
Yep.
correct? 10, we finished with Notre Dame at 10.
Yep.
All right. 11,
Missouri.
12, Penn State.
And 13, Kansas State.
13, Kansas State. See, my 12 was FSU.
Okay, so
and I have them at 13.
My
I
12
got
was
them at
FSU.
14.
Do you?
My 13's Missouri.
So
Yeah.
12, 13, 14 is what we have for Florida State.
Yes.
Right there, yeah.
So it's right there. So we can pencil them in. So we have them at 14, correct? Or excuse me, we have Kansas State 13, Florida State 14, correct? Make sure we're right on that. Justine, is that right?
Say that one more time.
We have Florida State 14 and Kansas State 13.
Copy.
Correct. Yep, that's right. All right, so we're getting to 15 now. We've still got did we put Penn State?
I don't know if we have.
I think we're somewhere
Put
along
them
the
at
line
12.
we messed up here. So
We
Penn
had-
State's 12,
Okay,
11,
Missouri.
Missouri. All right,
Yes.
13, Kansas State.
Yes,
All right, so we're on 14.
we're on 14.
Oh, so that's where we had Florida State.
Yes, that's why I thought we
Which
had.
you just
Okay.
said is Florida
14.
State.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're good
Yep.
at Florida State at 14.
Yeah, and then
Fine.
that's where I had Penn State. So I had Penn State at 14,
Okay.
a little bit lower than you guys. But again, I think honestly, anywhere from 9 to 14 for a lot of
You
these
can make
teams,
a legitimate
you can make a
argument.
legitimate argument.
My 14 was Tennessee.
Your 14 was Tennessee. All right, so let's get to 15 now that 14 is Florida State. We still got LSU. We've still got Clemson. We've still got Oklahoma. We've still got Oklahoma State. We've still got Arizona, Kansas, Iowa. All right, so who do you guys got?
I have Tennessee right at 15.
Okay.
And that's just kind of where does the young quarterback take you?
Yeah, which I believe
Nico,
in
if he plays the way he did in that bowl game, like now you're talking about a team that could play in the conference championship, much less make the college football
I'm with you.
playoff.
Give me Tennessee at 15. I'm with that.
Well, I have LSU at 8, so anytime you want to put LSU in there, just like,
Well, I think we go Tennessee 15, LSU 16.
yeah, Tennessee's very,
LSU 16.
Tennessee's
David's like just
very
I'm
inside.
I'm dialed
He's
right
like
now.
the three-eyed raven.
I'm
The
dialed
ceilings
in.
for
9
Nico's
feet
through the
tall.
roof.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have one of the best defensive players in the country on the front. How much do you trust Tennessee in the secondary? I like Scooby. I like some of the guys you have at skill positions. But this season will end up.
Squirrel? Do you mean squirrel?
Oh, yeah. Scooby's a defensive lineman for A&M, excuse me. Squirrel, Scooby, kind of in the same boat. But this team's going to go whether or not Nico does.
But Squirrel White, he's from Alabama, right?
I believe he is.
He's from Alabama.
I believe he is. All right, so that puts Tennessee 15. Do we go ahead and put LSU at 16 there?
I have LSU right at 16.
We good with
For
that?
most of the
I'm good with
reasons
that.
you
Let's
guys said
16,
earlier.
double up the LSU at 8 again. We'll see. We talked about them. All right, so getting to 17. Boys, we still don't have Clemson put up here yet. We still don't have Oklahoma State. We still don't have a team like NC State as well, or A&M. The more I look at it, I mean, if we're going to sit here and talk about 17, I wouldn't mind putting Oklahoma State right there.
I have
Guys
Clemson.
back.
I have Clemson at 17. I think they're still going to be really good on defense. Cade Klubnik, how well are we playing this year? I mean, Garrett Riley.
We'll see.
What are we
Red
doing
zone
on the
play.
offensive side? I think the ceiling could be really high for the program. Kind of tough that you start off with Georgia and that Aflac kid.
That's what worries.
That won't depict your whole season.
Well, it
to
depends
me.
on if they break Cade Klubnik in half.
Yeah, I mean, you said it earlier. If you lose your quarterback, no matter who you are, you're in trouble.
Yep.
But I do think, from a front seven standpoint, Clemson's one of the best in the country.
They'll be really good on
You have a returning quarterback. You did lose your Mr. Do-It-All guy in Shipley, but you have some pieces there. You bring back Mustafa. You have a couple guys. I think Clemson will do fine in the ACC. I think they'll get rolled by Georgia. I had them at 15 on mine, so I don't think 17 is a bad idea.
All right, so we'll go Clemson at 17 there. Do I hear Oklahoma State or Oklahoma at 18?
I have Oklahoma State at 18 and Oklahoma at 19. Back to back, right
I don't
there.
hate that at all. The reason, look, when you look at Oklahoma State, I don't believe in Bowman as a passer. Not that he has to be the greatest quarterback of all time. He doesn't have to be Dan Marino, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, whatever. I just don't trust him to be able to throw the ball well enough to be balanced on offense now that the book is out. That doesn't mean that Oklahoma State's, even if you know what somebody's going to do, that doesn't mean you necessarily can stop it. They bring back a ton of guys up front. I think 20 guys overall that played.
9 starters on each
Something like
side
that.
of the
That's
ball, I
incredible.
believe.
You don't
So
see that a
Bowman may
lot.
not be the best throwing quarterback of all time, but those receivers are coming back, and then you're going to have your
You've got a
Heisman
lot built
Trophy
around you.
candidate
You've
running
got a lot,
back.
I think a lot of it is going to be Bowman, don't blow it.
Hey, and Ollie Gordon's going to get more carries
Yeah.
for getting the DUI.
Yeah, well, again,
Not
Gundy's
fewer.
done it 1,000 times. And Oklahoma State's schedule, I think, is lighter. So give me Oklahoma State. We had that at what, 18? Then let's go Oklahoma 19. Y'all good with that?
And so how do you guys
I mean, no, I hate
differentiate-
that, to be honest.
Where do you have
I'm not good
Oklahoma?
with that. I have Oklahoma at 20, but I have A&M. I'd put A&M above these teams you're talking about right now.
Really?
You put A&M above
State,
Oklahoma
yeah, I think
State
A&M
and
would
Oklahoma?
roll Oklahoma State.
See, I don't. I think
side?
I wouldn't mind
A&M
putting that.
up front on both sides of the ball, damn good.
I don't think you could. I think
Connor
you could
Wegman?
end up being
No.
right. It's just I know that's where the trust factor a little bit more. Like I know a lot of these guys coming back here for Oklahoma State, whereas with Texas A&M right now, I mean, new regime. Like, can I at least see a little bit first?
That's fine, but I know, like Oklahoma State, you can bring back a lot of guys, but I know how you play.
I mean, last time Mike.
I know how
Gundy-
you play defense.
Last time Mike Gundy had a team this old, he won the conference.
Yeah, I would take A&M in a neutral side over Oklahoma.
The A&M, if anything,
I agree with
probably
that.
say whether it's a new regime or not, they're going to be big, fast, and pissed off.
Well, do we want to go? I mean, you look at A&M, especially that front seven on defense. I mean, they're scarier than Sam Smith wearing a dress with a microphone. But
That's scary.
And that's pretty damn scary. If we're looking at this, we're going to say, all right, 18. Do we want to go A&M 18? Go A&M 18, Oklahoma State 19, Oklahoma 20?
I mean, how are you guys differentiating between the rosters of Oklahoma and Texas A&M beyond just the quarterback position? I mean, I
think
get it. I would
A&M
take
roster
I
like
think
1,000
A&M's
times
offensive line is much more experienced playing together. Oklahoma's guys they played a lot, but they haven't played together. They kind of retooled the whole
Well, then there's your answer. Then.
Yeah, I think that's the tipping point. I think they're better. I think A&M is better than Oklahoma up front on both sides of the ball.
People look, and I'm not the big. I make fun of A&M all the time. All right, all the time. A&M up front on the defensive line.
Yeah,
it will be disgusting. Too deep.
And if Mike Elko continues to get every.
So then it must just be Mike Elko's that much better of a coach than Jimbo Fisher because they've been this deep. They've had this much talent.
I think that's why they paid him that $80 million buyout to get his ass out of there.
Well, I had Texas A&M in the top 25.
All right, so we'll go A&M at 18. We'll go Oklahoma State 19. We'll go Oklahoma 20. Y'all good with that?
I had Oklahoma 20 on mine.
All right, Justine, are you good back there with that? We got 5 more.
Yep.
All right, so these last 5, Dave, what do you think in 21 here?
I had Iowa. And again, I'm trying not to factor in the schedule, even though I keep looking at it. What's their over-under projection right now? 7.5. Take whatever money you can find from Mama's closet right now and pound the 7.5. I mean, I watched Cade McNamara lead Michigan to the college football playoff 3 seasons ago at this point. They're going to be just as good on defense. They're reloading. I think, like what we were saying about USC and LSU, they're going to be better on offense. They have to be better on offense at some point. And I don't know. I think we could be looking at a 10-2 Iowa team that makes the college football playoff.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I'm good with it.
I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think it's a wrong answer. I'm just worried. And I think one of the reasons why Iowa's defense was so good, I know you have talent, but the way your offense ran was so conservative. Like, those guys were never on the field for too long. So I get worried that Iowa's defense will get hit a little bit. Because when it comes to defense, it's tougher when your offense has an air raid offense and you're boom, 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 you're scoring all the time. That's great for Iowa, but I think it does knock it down on the defense a little bit. So I don't know. It's just I just don't know enough yet. It's so new.
Well, I just don't know how you sit here and say, oh, well, LSU should be ranked this high. We don't know anything really about what they're
I think the disparity of LSU talent and Iowa talent on both sides of the ball is not even close.
I think there's some spots. So, and again, I'm not saying that LSU isn't as talented as Iowa athletically. I mean, I think that's borderline erroneous to say that, but I think Iowa's just better at playing football at certain positions than LSU has been. I think Iowa can keep up with LSU up front. Going back to your defense didn't have to stay on the field as long. Dude, I was punting on 3rd down at some point.
They're a lot like
3
the
and out.
Steelers
Just because you run a pro-style offense, your ass goes 3 and out. You go 3 and out.
I know, but an air raid up-tempo offense is tougher on defenses.
They're a lot like the Steelers to me. I'm not talking about just the black and yellow color scheme here. I mean, there's a steadiness about them that we've come to know from a Kirk Ferentz-led team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I've seen Cade McNamara do some really good things at quarterback. And if he stays healthy in a way that I know he can, then Iowa, to me, is a top 25 team.
I think Iowa's going to sneak up on some people this year because, again, they have been the butt of the joke a lot.
And again, not that the schedule comes into play with what we're talking about, but no Michigan.
I'd put NC State over Iowa.
No Michigan, no Oregon.
I would put NC State over Iowa. I think defensively, NC State will be really good, especially in the secondary. You bring Grayson McCall over, who's experienced, who know you can do it. You have a good running back, one of the most talented receivers in the ACC. I'm sorry, I trust NC State more than I do Iowa.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna divvy out 21 and 22, I don't think there's a ton of separation there. My only qualm was between looking at one thing one way because it's Iowa and another because it's LSU. But I get what you're saying. I still, if we're gonna go 2 out of 3, Iowa at 21, NC State at 22.
I have NC State at 25, so I think they should be in there somewhere.
Okay.
That's fine by me. I had USC.
See, I don't have USC in my top 25.
And I think that's a bit wild. I know I'm a little higher on them than you guys are. I almost want to copy and paste your statement about LSU to USC. They're going to be better on defense. Like with the coaches that they brought in, they're going to be better on defense. Are they going to be as good on offense, losing the Heisman Trophy winner, number 1 pick, Caleb Williams? Probably not, but the things that we saw,
anybody's replaced Heisman Trophy winners good, it's Lincoln Riley.
There's a couple things I don't worry about in life, and it's Lincoln Riley-led offenses. And when Miller Moss, your quarterback's throwing 6 touchdowns in the bowl game, you've at least given me something to go off of. I think USC belongs in here somewhere. I think they're going to beat a lot of teams. I think that Notre Dame game at the end of the year in Los Angeles is going to be really, really interesting.
I hope it is. I hope they're both good, and I hope that game means a lot. Let's keep them in mind. 23, we need 23, 24, and 25. Who do you like at 23? Bob?
I like Kansas.
You like Kansas?
That's who I kept out of mine. It was my first honorable mention just because, again, Jalen Daniels could win the Heisman Trophy. Jalen Daniels could play 2 games this year. I don't know.
Yeah, you can say the same thing about Grayson McCall, too.
True.
I mean, you can say decent amount of these quarterbacks. Riley Leonard's another one. Yeah, I'm good with Kansas at 23.
From a running back quarterback standpoint, one of the most dynamic duo in college football. Like,
No
they're going to
lies
be
there.
disgusting. Defensively, they're going to be better. They get more experience. They're older on that side. It comes down to quarterback. Can he stay healthy or
And
not?
I love Lance Leipold. He's a hell of a
Oh,
coach.
God. Absolute wit.
He'll have him confident, ready to go. All right, so we need what? 2 more.
Yeah.
24 and 25 down to the stretch.
Again, I already had USC there that we haven't gotten to yet. I had Arizona at 22,
Okay.
and then I have Louisville at 20.
I went back and forth between Arizona and Kansas for these 2 spots. I'm going to go Arizona. I'm a little nervous about the new coach. I know we have a lot of Arizona fans that watch this show. Seems like a great guy. I've just got to see him at this level. Having Fafita, I know he's at San Jose State, which is not a small level. Believe me, we played against him. But Fafita's really nice. McMillan's really nice. I got to see if they can keep this mojo going. You are in the Big 12. I think they're kind of in a honey hole spot where some people are talking about them. They should be good enough to make some noise, but they're not the overall theme of what the conference is. Not a lot of people believe in Arizona since Jed Fish left for Washington. So I'm good with that. And I'm gonna tell you guys who I got for my 25th that we haven't mentioned yet.
How's yours shaking out over there at the end?
Yeah, I'm fine with that on 24. That's where I have Arizona. My 25th is actually Washington.
Really?
Okay.
I got Louisville.
Okay. Oh, I have Louisville at 23.
Okay.
Which I think we already got to. So did we include, is Arizona at 20?
Arizona is 24, and then I have Louisville 25.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm good with that because I have them at 23.
Okay, perfect. All right. Justine, you good back there with that? All right, let's we're gonna have
So no USC, right?
Yeah, no USC.
Not on mine.
And then my 3 honorable mentions, like I said, the first one was Kansas, but then 2 group of 5 teams, Memphis and App State.
Yeah, I felt bad. I almost wanted to put Memphis at 25. I just going into this season, I am really high on them, but I'm not higher on them than some of the other teams that we had there. But I do think there's a pretty good chance Memphis will be the group of 5 team that represents the college football playoff in the 12-team playoff.
You think Memphis will be?
I think
that's who you have.
Well, right now that's where I'm leaning. I don't want to officially say anything yet, but the phone lines open 1-855-236-3228. Want to get back in the chat? We got some other stuff to get to.
All right, Chad, let's go to Lane Bolner. Oh, is that our top 25
Yeah,
right there?
it is.
That's pretty. All right, let's go to Lane Bolner. What's up, Lane? He says, look, LSU's defense will not be the same. Whole offense, we're bringing back a 4th-year quarterback loaded, wide receiver room loaded, running back room loaded with one of the best offensive lines in the nation.
Offensive line loaded, yes. Quarterback, do I believe in him? Yes. So we have, just to go over it if you can't see if you're on audio, Georgia 1, Oregon 2, Ohio State 3, Texas 4, Bama 5, Ole Miss 6, Utah 7, Michigan 8, Miami 9, Notre Dame 10, Missouri 11, Penn State 12, Kansas State 13, FSU 14, Tennessee 15, LSU 16, Clemson 17, A&M 18, Oklahoma State 19, Oklahoma 20, Iowa 21, NC State 22, Kansas 23, Arizona 24, and Louisville at 25. Pretty good
list,
collective.
man.
That's a pretty solid list there. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Thanks for stopping by. If you hate college football, then you're probably going to hate me. And if you hate college football, then why would you subscribe to this channel? But you don't, so you will subscribe. Mind games.